Have you ever felt like you're existing but not truly alive? You go to work, handle your responsibilities, smile and nod at everyone, yet deep down, something inside you is slowly fading. Not because you're weak, but because it's been far too long since you genuinely showed up for your own life. You compromise, you postpone, you ration your emotions, your energy, as if there's going to be another chance at this life. This video isn't here to hand you a quick hit of motivation. It's here to wake you up, to shake you and remind you just how fiercely, deeply, and purposefully you once wanted to live. And Stoic philosophy, Stoicism, is the tool for that. It's raw, grounded, and unflinchingly honest. The Stoics teach you, don't complain, don't wait, do what's right with everything you've got. Stick with this video until the end, and you'll finally see why that emptiness keeps showing up, no matter how hard you've tried. You'll learn what it means to live like a warrior, not chasing sparks of inspiration, not clinging to outcomes, but showing up with full force every single day and making life itself remember that you were here. Number 1, commitment over comfort. There's a type of person you'll find in every setting, classrooms, offices, even at the gym, the almost great. They're intelligent, they're capable, and opportunity isn't their problem, but they never quite break through, not because they lack ability, but because they operate in just enough mode. Running at 60%, just enough to hold on to a job, just enough to keep pace, but never enough to truly change their lives. I once met a software engineering student in San Diego. His dream? To build an online learning platform for underrepresented kids to break into tech. It was a powerful idea, and he spoke about it with genuine passion. But when I asked him, "So what have you started so far?" he gave a shy smile and said, "I haven't really had time. School's intense and I work part-time at Starbucks." Understandable, everyone's busy, but the real issue wasn't time. It was commitment. He could work 20 hours a week to cover rent, but not carve out even 2 hours on a weekend to begin writing code for his dream. To a Stoic, comfort is always a little suspicious. It's a tempting trap that slowly lulls you into postponing things, bit by bit, until the years silently slip away. Commitment, by contrast, is a decision. It doesn't depend on mood or convenience. It's not shaped by circumstances. You show up. You put in the effort. Even when no one notices, even when you're exhausted, even when no one backs you. You want to make it in New York? Think talent alone will get you there? It won't. This city is overflowing with talent. The difference lies in who's willing to give up more. Are you willing to trade a few Netflix nights a week for books, practice, and real progress? Can you get out of bed at 5 a.m. when the wind cuts like glass? Will you write the 17th draft even when the first 16 were ignored? A friend of mine in Chicago was once a rising jazz musician. He left the stage behind to teach in underfunded public schools. I asked why. He said, "Because I want to teach these kids how to commit to themselves, not just how to dream." Jazz is beautiful, but his deeper purpose was this: to help kids understand that unless you go all in, you'll be swept aside. These kids grow up in tough neighborhoods, surrounded by drugs, gangs, and poverty. But the first lesson he teaches isn't music, it's discipline. Show up on time, practice every day, no excuses. Because he knows commitment can save a life long before talent ever gets a chance to. People often ask, how can I be more committed? But that's not the right question. A better one is, what am I willing to give up in order to go all in? Because going all in means letting go. Letting go of laziness, letting go of perfectionism, letting go of the fantasy that the perfect time is coming. It's not. The right time is the moment you stop waiting. So ask yourself, how much of your true potential are you really living out? And how much are you trading away for comfort? An hour a day on TikTok adds up to more than 15 days a year. Are you spending 2 weeks of your youth watching someone else's story, or are you finally starting to build your own? And this part matters. Don't wait to feel inspired. Stoics don't wait, they act. From principle, from a sacred discipline rooted in respect for their own lives. So pause. Look around. Your space. Your schedule. What's one thing you're clinging to for comfort that might actually be holding you back? Pick it. Cut it for just 3 days. Not forever, just 3. You'll start to see commitment isn't a grand emotion. It's small, intentional, repeated action. And to keep showing up when your energy fades, you'll need something deeper. Discipline tied to purpose. Not discipline from outside pressure, but from within, from clarity, from knowing exactly what you're building toward. The next lesson will show you how to create that kind of discipline, not rigid or joyless, but solid, like steel. And quietly, behind every remarkable person you've ever admired, that's what you'll always find. Number 2, purpose-driven discipline. There are mornings when you wake, glance at the time, and simply stay in bed. Not because your body's tired, but because nothing feels worth rising for. The alarm isn't as scary as the emptiness you feel inside. No clear goals, no firm commitments, no real reason. So why bother trying? The Stoics understood this. They never chased a flawless life. They chose a life filled with purpose. And once you're rooted in purpose, discipline doesn't feel like a weight. It becomes evidence, proof that you're walking the right path. Discipline isn't some massive milestone. It's skipping the snooze button because you promised yourself you'd be up at 6. It's setting your phone aside during dinner because you once said family matters most. It's choosing to sit and write, even when your brain is screaming for distractions. Because deep down, you know, if you skip today, your book stays a dream. These small, consistent choices stack up. They create a life that means something. The Stoics didn't live lightly. People often ask, how do I stay motivated every day? But that's not the real question. The Stoics didn't wait around for motivation. They acted from purpose, something sturdier than passing emotions. They could feel worn out, discouraged, or low, but feelings didn't run their lives. They acted like today was their final performance, because what if it is? There's a father who works 10 hours a day and still cooks dinner each night. He's not addicted to work. He just remembers too clearly the image of his mother, working herself to exhaustion all alone. Some reasons dig deep, quiet and unseen, like roots underground, invisible but holding everything up. Seneca once wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The real battle isn't the labor, it's the doubt. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow"? And how many tomorrows turned into years? A long road doesn't demand you sprint. It only asks that you don't quit. Even if all you do is move an inch, what matters is that you're still moving. You should hear this story, because maybe, without realizing it, you're living a version of it. Jonathan, 41, multi-talented. He dabbled in writing, guitar, and running. He'd begin with energy, but always faded out. One night, his 8-year-old son asked him, "Dad, is your book finished yet?" Jonathan laughed it off, but couldn't sleep that night. Not just because he was reminded, but because he saw it. He was teaching his son that dreams were things you talk about, not things you do. The next morning, he deleted all his social media, rebuilt his writing desk, and made a commitment: 500 words a day. No more, no less. 3 years later, he published his first book. It didn't top any charts. He didn't become famous, but to his son, it stood as living proof that discipline can build what inspiration never will. Here's one habit that helps: Before doing anything, quietly ask, will this bring me closer to why I'm here? If you answer honestly, that one question will gently eliminate 100 hollow actions. It becomes a compass, one that prevents you from slipping back into old habits. Each morning, don't ask, do I feel like it? Ask instead, is this worth it? That one shift between those two questions can reshape your entire life. And once you know your direction, stop offering yourself too many options. Clear the clutter. Remove what distracts. If you want to write in the mornings, set your notebook on the desk the night before. Make your coffee ahead of time. Silence your phone. And when the moment comes, don't chase perfection. Just show up. Show up on time. Do the work. Action builds habits. Habits create discipline. And over time, discipline forges a life you can be proud of, not because you were luckier than others, but because you were more honest with yourself. So begin with the smallest promise you can realistically keep, and keep it. That's how the Stoics trained. No spectacle, no spotlight, just quiet action, day in and day out. Maybe you think you lack discipline, but maybe you've just never fought for something worth sacrificing for. Discipline isn't about suppression, it's about devotion. Devotion to something sacred. Everyone has a reason. You just need to remember yours and live like you're not allowed to forget it, ever. And once you start living that way, a new challenge will surface. Not laziness, but distraction. The kind that keeps you constantly busy, yet takes you nowhere. Running in place, burning out, but not building. The next lesson will help you recognize it, name it, and cut it off, before it slowly erodes everything you've worked so hard to create. Number 3, eliminate distractions. Distractions, we've all had those days. You start with a long, ambitious to-do list, feeling set up for a day of solid productivity. But then what? One quick reply turns into a 7-minute video. You open a Google tab for something important, and somehow end up knee-deep in movie reviews. By noon, your willpower's already running on fumes. By evening, you're lying in bed in the dark, phone in hand, screen glowing, scrolling endlessly. You feel exhausted, busy all day, yet with nothing real to show. Not because you're lazy, but because you've never learned how to stay with the task, with your intention, with your life. In Stoic philosophy, intentional action is sacred. A Stoic doesn't drift through the day on autopilot. They know that mental energy is finite. Attention, like a laser, only cuts when it's sharply focused. But most of us treat our minds like an open plaza. Any thought can march in. Any notification can hijack us. How can you fully give yourself to anything when you're constantly being pulled in a dozen directions? Most people think distractions are just interruptions, but they're deeper. They're a way of living we've been trained into, a kind of modern addiction, fed one ping, one swipe, just a second at a time. The strange part? The busier we feel, the more distracted we become. Not because we have too much to do, but because there's no stillness left in our minds. There's a method called the Pomodoro technique. Don't let the name fool you. It's not a gimmick. 25 minutes of total focus, no phone, no bouncing between tabs, no casual talk. Then 5 minutes of rest. Repeat that cycle 4 times. Then take a longer break. Neuroscience confirms it. The brain thrives in focused sprints. Short enough to avoid fatigue, long enough to go deep. It's not the number of hours that counts. It's how fully you show up in them. Here's another core idea. Stimulus control. It's not about fighting temptation. It's about removing it altogether. A Stoic doesn't let notifications interrupt deep work. They don't try to write while sitting on the couch. They don't test their willpower. They design their environment so temptation rarely appears. Picture your mind as a garden. Each passing thought is like a bird landing. If you're not intentional, the sky fills with flapping wings, and soon chaos reigns. A Stoic guards their mental gate with care. They ask, does this thought help me grow? If not, it doesn't stay. Distraction doesn't just waste your time. It quietly corrodes your self-trust. Every time you say, just 5 more minutes, or I'll get to it later, you chip away at your inner strength. And if that strength isn't protected, it collapses, like a bridge rusting from the inside. If you stop believing your own promises, you can't fully commit to anything. You hold back, you play small, you live halfway. And to a Stoic, that's the greatest betrayal, not of others, but of yourself. So instead of asking, how can I focus more? Ask this instead, do I genuinely want to give myself to this? If the answer is yes, then why let yourself be pulled away by every vibration, every ding, every urge? Maybe you're thinking, there's too much pulling at me, how can I control it all? You can't. You can't control the chaos of the world, but you can control yourself. And once you take back your attention, you're not just reclaiming your workflow, you're reclaiming your life. Moment by moment, choice by choice. Then it becomes clear, focus isn't just a productivity trick, it's a form of respect. Respect for others, respect for yourself, respect for the work you've chosen, enough respect to show up with your full presence, without compromise, without distraction, because only then can you give something your all. And once you master your focus, a new, more powerful question arises. What are you giving it your all for? Not for money, not for applause, but for something deeper, more lasting. The quiet reason that keeps you going when no one's clapping, no one's watching. That's the next lesson. And maybe it's the one that will change everything. Number 4, passion over paycheck. It's Monday morning in a coffee shop filled with keyboard clicks and blank stares at glowing screens. How many people are truly alive in what they're doing? How many are there by choice, not obligation? This isn't about judgment. It's about waking something that may have gone quiet inside you. We weren't born just to land safe jobs. We were born to matter, and that always starts with something deeply human, passion. But in a world where paychecks are printed in the ink of safety and passion is written in blood and uncertainty, which one do you choose? Stoicism doesn't tell you to abandon security. It's not some romantic plea to just follow your heart. It's brutally practical. If you're not doing something you believe matters, you're wasting your life, no matter how big the paycheck. The real issue? Most people don't know where to begin. Passion feels too big, too vague. So let's call it something else. That thing you lose track of time doing. That thing you'd still do even if no one ever paid you. Like the literature teacher who blogs about books late into the night. Or the engineer who wakes up early to sketch portraits in pencil. These quiet acts say something loud. I'm still alive in here. A study from Yale University led by Professor Amy Rzesniewski explored this idea. She studied hospital custodians, a job many consider ordinary, even thankless. But some of them saw it differently. They didn't just clean. They believed they were creating a space for healing, helping doctors, supporting patients. They saw meaning where others only saw a mop. So maybe you don't need a new job. Maybe you need a new lens, or the courage to reignite what makes you feel alive. That's where a deceptively simple tool becomes powerful. Implementation intention. Don't just say, I'm going to write music again. Say, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 p.m., I will write music. When you link your passion to a specific time and place, your chances of showing up triple. Passion doesn't thrive on bursts of inspiration. It grows in the soil of consistency and care. That's Stoic thinking. Don't rely on mood, rely on discipline. And sometimes you don't need a theory. You just need to meet someone like Thomas. Thomas works in logistics, makes a decent living, but he never let go of his dream. documentary filmmaking. He didn't quit his job, he just began. Started filming 2-minute videos, factory workers, daily life, raw moments. One short film turned into another, then a small festival spot. But the real change? It was in him. Thomas moved differently, talked with more conviction, because every day wasn't just work. It was another brick in the life he truly wanted to build. Maybe you've told yourself, I just don't have time to do what I love. But take an honest look. How many hours disappear into scrolling? How much time slips into empty conversations, default habits? The truth is, we don't lack time, we lack priority. You don't need the blueprint to your whole life. You just need this. What can I do today, even for 30 minutes, that brings me closer to who I want to become? When you start there and stay consistent, you're giving it everything you've got. Not in one bold leap, but in 1,000 small, solid steps. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. You just did something most people won't. You gave yourself the time and space to seriously reflect on your life. Use this moment like a bookmark. Not because this message is perfect, but because you chose to show up for yourself. And don't skip the next chapters, because everything that follows fits together, like puzzle pieces building the picture of a life lived without half measures. Conclusion: a return to what matters. We've just taken a journey together, not to learn something new, but to remember something deep within you, something you once knew, once felt, and maybe forgot in the noise, in the rush, in the weight of daily life. Stoic principles don't promise an easy life. They promise something better, a grounded life, one that doesn't crumble when the world starts to shake. They remind you that commitment matters more than comfort, that discipline isn't a cage. It's the wingman of freedom. That action, even the smallest kind, is worth more than 1,000 intentions left unspoken. Living fully doesn't mean living wildly. It means living with clarity. It means that every small thing you do, sending a message, pouring a glass of water, saying goodbye, carries weight, because it comes from a person who's chosen not to skim across life's surface, but to live with depth, with intention, not halfway. And when you live like that, you don't need to leave behind a grand name. You don't need statues or headlines. You just need to live in a way that, even in silence, makes the world a little better, because you were here. If something in this video made you pause, made you reflect, or even consider living differently, share it in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone out there needs. And if you want to keep walking alongside ideas that help you live stronger, fuller, and more awake, hit subscribe, because sometimes all it takes is the right reminder at the right moment to finally begin living like you were always meant to.